What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. Naruto Alien Wife. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments, and also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. My head hurts, was the first thought I had as I came to. Shards of glass shot down my throat with every swallow, and my head pulsed with a migraine. Looking around I found the spider-like creature lying motionless next to me. Poking it, I blinked in surprise to find the thing dead. Well, good riddance, I huffed as I rubbed my chest lightly. An odd wriggling began in my upper body, punctured by shots of pain. I gasped as my whole body jerked forward, the ache in my torso worsening. What the hell is happening? I cried out in panic as my body jerked some more. It felt like someone was using a battering ram against the inside of my ribs, desperate to get out of me. I shouldn't have come down here. The sour taste of regret coated my tongue as agony spiraled through my body from its origins in my chest. With widened eyes I wasted my last breath in a gasp as something burst from my torso. I barely felt as my body fell backwards. The thing screeching in victory was the last thing I saw as I floated into a heavy darkness. The cool touch of water lapping at my skin was the first thing my brain processed as I began to come to. Opening my eyes I found myself in a dark and extremely damp sewer. Is this what the afterlife is like? Where the villagers ride and I really am an evil demon and this is hell? I thought to myself and was surprised when it echoed back to me from my surroundings. I also noticed with slight panic that the filthy water was quickly raising, threatening just as surely as the dimming lights to swallow me into eternal darkness. How long do you plan on floating there? A deep and annoyed voice growled from behind me. I quickly sat up, water sloshing around me, and was only faintly surprised that the water reached up to my neck. Turning I stared at what appeared to be a pair of huge floating red eyes locked behind a giant cage. Who are you? I asked, standing up so that I didn't drown in the water. I finally wake up after 10 years of sleeping to find you dying. You are so pathetic. The voice continued as if I didn't even speak. I asked you a question, I exclaimed, moving closer to the cage, which was slightly elevated. The being snorted, blowing me back into the raging water. It stepped forward, the dim light bouncing off of the red fur of the giant fox. Kyuubi no Kitsune? Then I must really be in hell. I yelled in panic, once again moving back to my spot close to the cage. You're not dead, you idiot, we are in your mind. The fox's tone was bored as he stared down at me. Your precious Yondaime couldn't kill me, so he sealed me inside of a newborn baby. Lucky for you, you were that baby. Kyuubi rolled his eyes, sarcasm dripping from his words. I stood in shock for only a minute before the water caught my attention again. What's happening? I asked, moving as close to the seal as I dared. I told you, we're dying. Kyuubi said, annoyance clear in his voice. Can't you do something? I thought demons were fast healers? I said as I pushed my way through the cage's bars. What makes you think I would help you? I could just let you die and I will go free. I've read about Jinchuriki before. If I die you die. I'll just be reborn, but then you'll have to start all over again with gathering your power. There was a slight pause before the irritated reply came. I can't with all of my powers sealed away. If the wound wasn't so grave I would have been able to, no problem. What if I rip off part of the seal? I asked, climbing onto one of his enormous paws. That might work. I can't reach that high. Kyuubi sighed, lifting his paw so that I could get to the seal. I very carefully reached outside of the bars and made sure to rip 1/4 of the seal off. Is that enough? No, a little more. Huffing, I carefully ripped the seal further. That should be fine. Kyuubi said, his demonic chakras surging through my body. Through the brightening of the lights I was able to watch as the fox worked relentlessly, molding the red chakra to save my life. After what felt like forever he groaned, lying carefully so that I didn't fall off of my perch on his paw. You're healed, he rumbled out, placing his huge head between his paws. Whatever that thing was, it left some residue in your body. I examined it and found it to be interesting, so I incorporated it into your DNA along with some other changes. You were messing around with my DNA? What the hell, Kyuubi? I exclaimed, tensing up and glaring at the kitsune. A low growl vibrated from Kyuubi's chest as he huffed. Hush up, Kit. The creature's residue could not be destroyed, nor could it stay the way it was. I could hear the ungrateful brat at the end of that sentence, even if it wasn't voiced. As for the modifications I did, just call it an insurance of sorts, so that something like this won't happen again. I have gifted you with a new Kekkei Genkai. You can thank me later for that. Fine, but I at least want to know what to expect out of this. I said, crossing my arms and pouting. Large gleaming teeth revealed themselves in a mockery of a smirk. I'm not sure to what extent the creature changed you, but I am certain that it enhanced your bones. Enhanced them how? It made them harder to break like steel or something, and lighter. Usually that's a bad thing, but since they are harder to break I guess it's fine. What do lighter bones mean, and why would it be bad? It means that you can move faster, jump higher. I would even say you could fly if you had wings or something. Normally that would be bad because your skeletal system wouldn't be able to support the weight of your body, but like I said, they are made of some pretty durable stuff. That's awesome. What more did it change? I believe your blood is now acidic, although I'm not sure how acidic. That would make for a weak defense, like a no options left type thing. Kyubi said, a strange light in his eyes. You may have a second vision also, though you're going to have to unlock it if you do. And that's all I know about that one. Kyubi was silent as he let me digest what he just told me. Go on. Kyubi huffed in slight irritation. I made you about 40% fox demon. That means you will be stronger than most humans, having enhanced senses, more muscles and joints, but weaker than half demons unfortunately. A plus to all of this, however, is that you'll be able to handle my demonic chakra, to a certain extent of course. We will also be able to communicate outside of your mindscape. There are other things, abilities that might pop up later in life. A kitsune doesn't know the full extent of their abilities until at the very least their 100th year. What do you mean know the extent? Basically, powers and abilities will appear randomly until you're 100. That's what the first 2 tales of power are, learning the extent of your talents. Then the other 8 are a gauge of how powerful your demonic energy and chakra are. It also lets other kitsunes know how well you have mastered your talents. You can't get really powerful until you've mastered your abilities. So I can be a 9-tailed fox someday? Cerulean eyes widened in excitement. Yeah, but for you the time until you reach the extent of your abilities will probably be shorter, seeing as you more than likely won't have as long of a lifespan as a full or half demon. Also, that would count for the creature's abilities too. You'll have to begin mastering that along with regular chakra control to be able to get past 2 tails. Okay, I'm fine with that, or as fine as I can be with someone messing with my DNA. How do I wake up? I got up and stretched. The water no longer came into the cage, and even out of the cage it only reached my ankles. Kyubi snorted, I'm going back to sleep, please try to stay alive this time. A hook-like jerk pulled me away from the fox and I was jolted back into my body. I groaned lightly as I began to come to. My body ached everywhere, and it was probably due to the enhancements that Kyubi made. I winced as the enhanced senses hit me all at once. All of the different smells mixed into one overwhelming stench that hit me like a boulder to the face. The sounds twisted and washed over me like a crowd of screeching babies, tearing at my eardrums with serrated knives. Taking a deep breath was a mistake, opening my eyes was a mistake, moving was a mistake, everything was a mistake. Just before the pain overcame me and I was plunged back into darkness, I could have sworn that I saw a strange shadow move above me. I closed my eyes and thought I heard a weird scraping and slithering sound, though I couldn't tell if it was near or far. A groan bounced of the cave walls as cerulean eyes fluttered open. Did I faint again? He noticed that his senses were all dulled again and wondered if he had to work at controlling them also. Naruto noticed from the bottom of his eyes as something shifted, making him acutely aware of the weight that rested on his newly healed chest. Dread twisted his intestines as he slowly rolled his eyes down to see what was on him and tensed. There, perched on his chest, was a slightly bigger version of the creature that burst out of him. A sleek black and tan head greeted his slowly widening eyes. The creature was about 2 to 3 feet long with a snake-like body. Its head was shaped weird, with the upper part resembling a helmet that was spiked in the back. 1. Kyubi. Naruto could hear the slight quiver in his mental voice, and if this strange creature wasn't curled on top of him he would have winced. What the hell do you want, kid? Kyubi said in annoyance. Kyubi. Panic flooded through his body as the creature leaned in closer to him, nearly giving him a heart attack as small pointy teeth came to close for comfort. You better be damn well dying for waking me up right after I said I was going to sleep. Healing and altering you took a lot of energy, you know. Kyubi continued to rant as if he didn't say anything. Kyubi, help me please. It must have been the desperation or sheer fear that prompted the fox to take in the situation. By that time the thing had begun to nuzzle its head into Naruto's cheek, letting out a soft purr-like hiss. "Oh, I see," Kyuubi said, bewilderment tinting his voice. "What do I do?" Naruto thought, almost in a panic. "See if you can communicate with it." Swallowing the lump in his throat, Naruto slowly lifted his hand to lightly pet the creature's head. "Hey there. Nice creature thing." "Really, nice creature thing?" A weird sensation slid through his brain like ice-cold water, causing a shiver to rack his body and successfully stalling his response. It was a few seconds later that he understood. That feeling was how this creature, called xenomorph by some, communicated. His brain slowly processed the information that hadn't stopped flowing, and stored it away for later documenting. He knew that the being above him was a queen and that she needed host bodies to breed. He knew that as her father, the only being known to survive the birth, that it was his duty to help build and run the colony. He also realized that these creatures would not harm or reject him because they will be a close-knit family. "Well, that was enlightening," Kyuubi said, breaking the tender moment of realization. "Though now that this shock is over, you should get some food for your daughter, maybe a couple of wolves. It will give you a chance to practice with your new senses." "Yeah, you're right," the blonde thought, caressing his daughter's head still. As careful as possible, Naruto picked the serpentine body into his arms, shivering when the long tail curled around his torso. This is going to take some getting used to. He watched as the queen nuzzled into his chest contentedly. As he made his way out of the cave system, he sent the layout to the queen, cringing at the still foreign sensation of his thoughts floating away like a cold mist. Blue eyes scanned the surroundings, making sure the coast was clear. Naruto had decided that it was best to use one of the exits that was far away from Konoha. "It'll probably be better if others don't find out about her just yet," he muttered to himself, sneaking out of the cave, holding the queen close to his body, shielding her from any prying eyes. The blonde and the alien wandered through the forest silently until the academy student felt that they were far enough from the cave to begin hunting. "Okay, Kyuubi, how do I use my senses?" he asked as he gently placed the xenomorph on the ground. "Well, this is going to be difficult to explain. Animals and demons generally use their other senses more than their sight, humans however do not." Kyuubi began shift from inside of his cage. "This might be a little difficult for you because we have to override your initial instinct." "That doesn't sound so hard. You say that now, but wait until you have to put it into practice." Yeah, how do I activate it?" "We are going to have to do this one at a time. I want you to concentrate on your nose and sense of smell. Be careful, because if you concentrate too hard then you'll be overwhelmed like when you first woke up. Not enough, however, will leave you with a puny human sense. So just concentrate on my nose, right? Do I put some chakra into it?" "Yeah, that is probably how you unlock them." Kyuubi mused out loud. "You mean you don't know?" "Not necessarily. The changes I gifted you with are working more like a Kekkei Genkei, an extra ability if you will, than if it was natural. Usually for a demon, what humans call heightened senses is the norm. But since you are at least some part human, you probably have to use chakra to heighten yours, for now, until your body gets used to it and does it automatically." "So how do I channel my chakra?" Naruto watched as the queen slithered to a nearby tree and curled up for a nap. He knew that she was very hungry and that he would need to hurry and learn control so that she doesn't starve. Even though she still creeps him out, he felt responsible for her because, like Kyuubi put it, she was his daughter. "Don't they teach this stuff to you in the academy?" Kyuubi asked incredulously at the boy's genuine lack of knowledge on that subject. "You do know what chakra is, right?" Kyuubi huffed out at Naruto's continued silence. "Chakra is a natural energy, which all living beings have to a certain degree, which is created in your core and spread through your body with its own network that is similar to the cardiovascular system. It is composed of two different energies: physical, which is energy gathered from every cell in your body, and spiritual, which comes from experience and meditation. Those two combine and create an energy that can be molded into jutsus or just to strengthen your body." Naruto nodded his head at the basic rundown of what chakra was. "What's a cardiovascular system?" "Your circulator system, you know, what your blood flows through. Anyways, I want you to find your core, which should be in the abdominal area, and pull some chakra from there and direct it to your nose. After you go hunting, I will teach you some chakra control exercises." The blonde grunted in acknowledgement as he focused on his stomach, Closing his eyes briefly, Naruto was surprised to see the large lake in front of him upon opening them again. This is the part of your mindscape where your core resides, and that is your chakra. It's about double the amount of any other child your age. A fox the size of a horse said from his side. I have all of this because of you? Cerulean blue eyes widened as they gazed at the sparkling teal expanse before them. No, you have all of this because of you. Your mother's family has always had larger than normal chakra cores. That is why I was imprisoned inside of your mother before she died and her mother before her and so on. Does that mean you know who my parents were? The boy asked with excitement brimming in his voice. Yeah, but now is not the time. Your daughter needs you to feed her. Red tails flicked in irritation as Naruto opened his mouth to retort. Now I want you to concentrate on the lake and imagine a stream leaving it and flowing into your body. Grumbling to himself, the blonde reached into the stream and withdrew a large tendril of the surprisingly warm substance. What now? Naruto said as he came back to reality, energy thrumming just under his skin. Direct it to your nose. Though I would do it carefully, I'm not sure how much chakra is needed to activate your senses. With the queen's hunger gnawing at his guts, the whiskered boy ignored Kyuubi's advice, and quickly directed the energy to his nose and took a deep breath. Gah! His vision swarmed and his stomach rolled as he was overwhelmed by the powerful stench of combined smells. I said slowly, all right, cut the chakra flow and try again with a thinner stream, and this time slowly. Sighing, the boy once again drew a tendril from his core. Though he couldn't make it smaller, he was able to slowly feed it into his nose until his smell enhanced. Alright, that should be enough. Kyuubi said as Naruto's sense of smell was enhanced as far as he could handle. Now wolves have a sort of musky aroma, like trees, fur and earth blended into one scent. How'd I tell the difference between smells? It's still just one mass of an odor to me. Pick through the smells until you find the one that smells like fur. You do know what that smells like, right? The old fox let out a long-suffering sigh as Naruto shook his head no. Here, this is a memory of what fur and wolf smells like. It would take forever for me to explain what they smell like with your puny human-like comprehension of things. I'll have to rectify that problem soon enough. You no longer have to think like a human. Naruto started when a faint smell tickled at his nose like a long-forgotten memory. After it faded away, he was able to slowly pick his way through all of the scents in the forest until he found the correct one. Stay here and keep hidden, he said sternly to the curled form of the queen. Turning, he pushed off in a sprint, surprised when he went faster than he expected. Kyuubi, what's going on? He yelped as he crashed into a tree. I told you, your bones are lighter and you are slightly stronger. There is no need for you to push off as hard as you normally would to run. The fox chuckled out as the blonde untangled himself from the bottom of the tree. Well, that's going to take some getting used to. He grumbled as he started out at a slower pace in the direction of the pack. He weaved through the trees until he came to a clearing with several large rocks leaning against each other and creating a den of sorts. The wolves were lounging there, watching a litter of cubs rough house. Do I have to kill the whole pack? They have cubs, Naruto exclaimed in dismay. No, but having that kind of compassion is not going to help you make a good ninja. Nor would it help the queen and her colony, and that should now be your top priority. The old fox huffed out. Now do you see that wolf laying away from the rest? I want you to target him, he's weakening because of old age. The wolf that Kyuubi picked out was a graying black wolf who was surprisingly big. He was laying further away from the rest of the pack and appeared to be sleeping. Crouching low, Naruto gripped one of the old kunai that he uses for the academy, and crept slowly forward, keeping an eye on the rest of the pack. Once he deemed himself close enough, he lunged out at the wolf and was surprised when it dodged away from him. Growling from his left alerted him that he caught the attention of the rest of the pack with that stunt. That was the stupidest thing I have ever seen during hunting. Naruto yelped in slight pain as a clawed paw clipped him in the face before he was able to completely get out of the way. The old wolf that he was aiming at had a slight limp, but he was still quite vicious. The other wolves often dashed in to give him a bite or two here and there. The blonde winced as he once again launched himself into a tree after pushing off too hard. His body was littered with scratches and bite marks, and he was beginning to get frustrated with his any failed attempts at killing the old mutt. He had noticed the two wolves that stood at the top of the rocks not entering the actual battle, and knew that the one that he fought was not an alpha. With hope renewed, the young ninja in training attacked the quickly tiring wolf. It was with another scratch to the face that Naruto was able to deliver the killing blow. Without looking back at the rest of the pack, he swooped down and claimed his prize. He moved as fast as he could go without running into trees, the sound of angry growls and paws beating against the forest floor all the motivation he needed to keep going. He took a longer, more twisting route back to the queen, desperate to lose his pursuers before he led them to his daughter. It was dark by the time Naruto was able to drag the wolf back to his daughter. He found her curled in the same spot as he left her, nearly invisible in the night. "Here you go," it was kind of hard to catch. He grinned warily as he sat down in front of the serpentine black shape. He flinched back as the creature tore into the wolf with a hissing purr. The blaring of an alarm jolted a young blonde out of his slumber. A tanned hand reached from under the mound of covers and quickly pushing the button that cut off the horrible screeching. Naruto heaved himself out of his warm bed to stumble his way through the mess that was his bedroom and made his way towards his bathroom. That was the weirdest dream ever. He thought groggily as he relieved himself, completely ignoring the little niggling emotion at the back of his mind. "You really think that you can come up with something that creative? Don't make me laugh," Kyuubi snorted, successfully cutting through the blonde's thoughts. "It was all real?" the boy exclaimed, pausing momentarily and turning on the shower. "Then where is the queen?" he asked as he slipped under the unsurprisingly cold spray of water. "You snuck her into the village last night after she ate. I'm pretty sure I saw her crawl under your bed to sleep." Kyuubi brought up the memory of the night before, and the blonde was able to relax knowing where the young xenomorph is. The repetitive motions of washing himself lured him into a calm that allowed him to slip into his mindscape. Cerulean eyes almost immediately caught the minute differences to his surroundings. The lights that once flickered, even after the Kyuubi saved his life, shone steadily. The walls were no longer the filthy brown riddled with cracks, now they were a clean, smooth gray. And though it was still really damp, the water was no longer as dirty as it was before. "I wonder what caused these changes," Naruto thought as he stepped into the chamber that held the Kyuubi's cage. "What the hell?" The blonde's eyes were automatically drawn to where another wall should have been. Instead, the room broke off into a deep shifting abyss. "There has been a change to your mental state. There will be some differences in the way you think, the way your brain processes things and your natural instincts, in other words," Kyuubi said, stepping into the light. "To answer your first question, as for your second one, that is your mental link to your daughter. As it is right now, it will be hard to distinguish which emotions or thoughts are actually your own without concentration. I am also unsure on how we would go about closing it down without causing any type of damage. The best we could do at this moment is to start your training and hope that it helps." The fox trailed off as they both looked into the swirling mass of darkness. Naruto groaned at that. Now that he wasn't groggy, he could clearly feel confusion, curiosity and hunger that did not belong to him. It rolled out of the void and entwined with his emotions so thoroughly that if Kyuubi hadn't mentioned it or he wasn't paying attention, he would mistake them for his own. "When will my training start and what will be first on the agenda for me to learn?" the blonde asked as he dried off with an old ratty-looking towel. Wrapping it around his slim waist, he left the bathroom to get dressed. "We will start your chakra control exercises after you get out of the academy. I also want you to start to get used to your body. The sooner we can get those two things out of the way, the sooner we can start on the more fun stuff." Kyuubi huffed out from his cage. "Also, I want you to document everything, from your thoughts and emotions, the queen's behavior, to what you did that day. It's a lot easier to analyze data if it is right in front of your face. Also, we are going to be doing a lot of tests from now on to try and find your limits and abilities." Naruto was momentarily distracted from finding one of his cleaner jumpsuits by the distinct sound of something slithering across wooden floors. Looking up from his search, he was met with the sight of the queen sitting coiled on his bed, peering out of the window. Hunger once again rippled through his being to gnaw angrily at his stomach. "I should be able to catch a prey easily, we're surrounded by them after all," he thought absent-mindedly as he pulled on his clothes and made his way towards the door. "I don't think that's such a good idea, Kit." Kyuubi's exclaim blew away the fog that had clouded Naruto and he realized what he was just thinking. Horror and fear settled in his stomach like a jagged rock. "Kyuubi, what just happened?" He looked warily at the queen who was still peering out of the window. "I believe she controlled your thoughts so that you would do her bidding. We have to hurry and find a way to block that, I do not want a mindless puppet for a container. The fox snorted out in irritation. Naruto turned towards his kitchen, put some water on the stove to boil. I can't go hunting for you yet or I'll be even later for school, but I can make you some cup ramen to tide you over until we get out. He warily addressed the young xenomorph. I'm a page break. The academy student ran down the street with his customary stupid happy-go-lucky grin plastered on his face. He faithfully drowned out the scornful whispers with thoughts of ramen and pranks, replacing the hate-filled glares with the looks of adoration that will be on the faces of every villager once he became Hokage. It all made sense now. Why everyone disliked him, it was because the Kyuubi was sealed within him. All he had to do was show everyone how awesome he was and that he was not the demon fox, and they will all begin to love him. So even when the rocks started to sail through the air, and the thirst for his blood increased, his smile never wavered, though no one could blame him for the small seed of odium that was planted deep in the recesses of his heart. I usually don't do these in the middle of the story, but doesn't this just seem like the perfect spot to end? If this chapter wasn't so late, I probably would have ended it there, so consider the rest of the chapter a bonus, XD. With a sigh of relief, Naruto finally made it to the academy. Slowing down slightly once he reached the hallways, Naruto made his way to his classroom. So do you have an empty notebook that you could use? Kyuubi finally broke the silence that had descended upon them. Yeah, Gigi-sama gave me some in hopes that I would get better grades in the academy if I took notes. The blonde answered back. Why? Because I want you to begin to write down how you came upon the queen's egg, what happened after the egg hatched, and everything that happened yesterday and this morning. I'll of course help you fill in some of the blanks. Kyuubi said just as the whiskered boy silently slid the door open. Uzumaki, can you explain to me why is it that you feel that you can come in whenever you please and disrupt my class? An old stern hate-filled voice slashed at his ears as soon as he walked into the room. Cerulean eyes took in the smug and or disgusted looks on everyone's faces as they looked around the class. Sorry ma'am, my alarm clock didn't go off and I woke up late. He felt a sheepish grin twist his lips and caused his eyes to slit, as his hand came up and rubbed his neck in a familiar gesture. Excuses, hurry up and take your seat so that I may continue my lesson, she said, turning her face away from the young blonde and lifting her nose in the air. You may not want to learn, but that does not mean the rest of my students share your views, she said in a haughty tone. Naruto felt that smile fall off of his face as soon as he took his seat, all the way in the back of the class completely alone, and pulled out the notebook that he mentioned to the Kyuubi. He took a moment to organize his thoughts before he began to write. Entry 1. It had been a hard day at the academy. Sensei had given us another pop quiz and it was once again on something we weren't taught. I seriously think that Hokage Gigi should just fire her already, or I did until I learned why she treated me that way, and now looking back on all of those tests and pop quizzes that I failed, someone more than likely tampered with them. Anyways, I'm off track. I had decided that I wanted to take a walk through the Forest of Death as usual. It's a shame when you feel safer in a place called the Forest of Death than in your own home, but hey. It's like I always say, there is no real hatred in nature, just the primal instinct of survival of the fittest. Anyways, I had asked the Hokage the previous night about the identity of my parents, but he just blew me off, so preoccupied with those thoughts I failed to see the slightly covered hole in the ground. What I found at the end of that slanted tunnel was a cavern that was connected to a catacomb of caves. I spent at least 12 hours traveling through them and I still wasn't able to see them all. It was as I was looking through my last cave for the day that I found it. It was a giant slimy mossy green egg resting at the back of the huge musty cavern that was riddled with stalagmites and stalactites. It made me curious, so I walked up to it and poked it. Of course it was just as slimy as it looked, if not more so. It felt disgusting. Naruto took care to explain in painstaking details about his encounter with the queen's egg, his almost death, which he learned actually lasted for 4 days, and finally about the queen, hunting for her and the happenings of that morning. By the time he was finished with all of that, not only were a few pages filled, but the academy had finally let out. Ah, Kyuubi, why didn't you tell me that I was missing lunch? The blonde whined to the fox. You seemed busy, so I decided not to bother you, Kyuubi said with a grin. The academy student quickly made his way back to his apartment, grin firmly in place and ignoring the people around him. He was finally going to do some training with the Kyuubi, and that would be completely awesome. Finally arriving, Naruto scooped up the queen, too excited to feel wary of her, and placed her in his backpack before he snuck out into the forest. You're going to need a large clearing that's far from here and has a lot of tall trees. The kitsune instructed as they got past the gate. When we find one, I want you to start by running 5 laps around the perimeter. I want you to be able to do those 5 laps in no less than 10 minutes. We have to work on controlling your body, so you are going to have to concentrate on slowing down. Then we are going to do a couple of chakra control exercises once your blood is pumping. Running, jumping, throwing and chakra control is all we are going to be working on until you are adjusted to your body. Then we will probably work on a taijutsu style or focus more on testing your abilities. Though you will still have to work on chakra control, you'll need even better control than a medic nin has in order to do any demonic jutsu. So now that we have our basic agenda down, I think this clearing will do. With that said, the Kyuubi began to doze off as Naruto placed the queen in the middle of the clearing under a weeping willow and started his laps. I'm an evil page break muhahahahahahd. Entry 4. Today Kyuubi had me launching logs today, and like I have been doing for the past several days, I had to control my body's natural output. For example, today I unconsciously threw the log too hard and it flew way past my target. I keep forgetting that I'm a lot stronger than I was before and keep using more force than I actually need. It's going to take a long time before I'm used to that fact. As for the chakra control, I have only made it halfway up the tree before I either slid down or get launched off of it. I have been spending all of my extra money on buying more notebooks instead of on ramen and other foods. I have been hunting for myself and the queen to eat. Kyuubi even taught me how to cook the food I caught, in both the wild and at home. He also taught me how to forage for eatable plants, and he taught me how to grow and care for my own. But of course I mentioned this already. What I haven't mentioned, however, is that I finally finished writing down all of the information that the queen gave me about her kind. It took up about 4 notebooks and a couple of scrolls, but finally I'm done with that. Also, that new teacher that I mentioned back in entry 2 is way better than that old hag ever was. Iruka-sensei started out with having the same hatred in his eyes as everyone else, but with each question I answer correctly or each prank I pull on the villagers, his eyes become a little warmer towards me. On that note, I have to say that Hokage Gigi-sama is acting really weird lately, what with asking all of these strange questions all of a sudden. I think his age is finally getting to him. We can't have a senile Hokage. Oh man, this is bad. Konoha would get destroyed in 2 minutes flat if that ever happened. On another note, the more training I do, the less the queen is able to control my mind. This makes me happy and less wary of her. We also confirmed that even if I am not paying attention in class, she picks up the information that my senses bring in and stores it in her brain so that I could view it whenever I want. That is so awesome. Now I don't have to pay attention in class and I could still get the answers correct. Well, I'm going to bed now. I have a lot to do tomorrow. Entry 6. Maybe the Hokage was right to worry. My mentality has changed from the loss of my obsession with ramen to my reactions to the villagers. It's becoming harder for me to keep up my happy smile. More often than not I feel it falling off of my face, and it feels great, like relaxing in a hot spring after a long tedious day of work. I like it. That's not all that has changed either. My mindscape has completely altered. It started out with little changes like the walls and water becoming cleaner, simple stuff like that. But now even the Kyuubi's seal has altered. It turned into an amazing collar that keeps him in check instead. The walls are now a glossy black and almost blends in perfectly with the void that is the queen's mind. Kyuubi says that's from the queen's influence. There were random gray and a lighter shade of black trees and groves all over the place, from the fox's influence. It's kind of startling to physically see the changes to my mental state. Anyways, I have finally made it to the top of the tree. Kyuubi says that we will start on a different one tomorrow. I still haven't fully adjusted to my body yet, but Kyuubi says that we can start on a taijutsu style for me. He said that we will still be doing the laps and stuff for warm-ups, but I won't have to do as many, which is good because we were reaching 30 laps and or tosses in 2 hours. I had to make all of those laps in exactly that amount of time down to the last second, or Kyuubi would make me to double the amount and time before I went home with the queen. Oh, the furball also said that we will be working on how to properly use my senses. He says that he fears pushing that off any longer in case I do something to permanently damage one of them. He says that they are delicate. My sense of smell has a little more endurance than the others. Whatever the future seems to be really busy for me, so I'm going to bed. Entry 7. Something is wrong with the queen. I had been reviewing some of the things that I documented from their history and found that she is growing way too slow. She should have been an adult by the end of the first day at the very latest. I was panicking naturally, so the Kyuubi forced me to write down my feelings in this stupid journal. What the hell am I, some teenage girl with a dairy? He said that he had a theory. The xenomorphs take certain genetic traits from their host DNA, it's how they adapt in different environments. He says that she is building a chakra core. Those are hard to build, therefore she is taking longer to mature. Oh, Kami-sama? The queen is stuck in a cocoon. Some black resin-like substance and spit burst out of her mouth just now and completely engulfed her. What the hell should I do? Kid, would you just calm down? We already established that the queen was growing too slow, right? The fox waited until the blonde boy nodded. Well, what if this is a way for her to go to the next stage? You know, kind of like a butterfly. Besides, you noticed her shedding all week. That's one of the reasons why you moved her into the caves permanently. So man up, go find yourself something to eat and hurry to the Hokage Tower. The old man requested a visit, remember? The calmness and content that rolled out of the void successfully stopped whatever panicked response that Naruto had. Taking a deep breath, he slunk out of the caves with one last look to the large black cocoon. The queen is okay. I can still feel her and she can still respond to me. The blonde thought in relief as his mind descended into hunter mode. The chakra control exercises really made it easier for him to draw up the correct amount to activate his sense of smell. Crouching low to the ground, Naruto was able to pick out the scent of a nearby family of rabbits. With a cold detachedness he stalked to where they were grazing. Eyes on the prize, he thought as his icy orbs single out which of the furry critters he was going after. With a practiced ease, the blonde was able to deftly snatch up his prey, and with a flick of his wrist he snapped the little animal's neck. Nodding in satisfaction at the plump bunny, the whiskered boy skinned and gutted the little creature with quick, precise movements. You don't have time to cook it, just eat it raw. It's not like it will have any negative effects on you. If anything, you should do it more often. Naruto grimaced at the thought before he bit into the bleeding flesh. Entry 7 continued. My meeting with the Hokage was just plain strange. Apparently he was more concerned about my mental health than I thought. He assigned Iruka-sensei to tutor me after classes. His excuse was that after the Chunin became our teacher there has been a minor improvement to my grades. His job is probably to keep an eye on me to make sure I don't do anything to endanger myself or the village. I have to admit it has been getting harder and harder to pull on my smile. More often than not I find myself with a blank expression that creeps everyone out. Now it's going to be even more difficult to juggle everything I had to do. Well, I should be going to be. Kyuubi said that everything I had to do today has been postponed until tomorrow. And I have the academy and private tutoring also. It's going to be a really long day. I hope the queen comes out soon. Page break. Entry 10. This new chakra control exercise is hard, and we've been having trouble coming up with a taijutsu style that fits me. I come home every night sore and basically dead on my feet. The queen still hasn't come out yet. Why is she taking so long? On another note, Iruka-sensei took me out to eat today. We went to Ichiraku's and I relearned why I was so obsessed with ramen. Though Kyuubi said that I had to eat it in moderation. Apparently my body consumes a lot of energy that ramen cannot provide. Oh, today we tested how acidic my blood was. It melted straight through a kunai. Then some dropped down to the ground and it melted the grass where it touched and made small holes in the ground before it stopped. How cool is that? Kyuubi has me eating raw meat every other day. The concept is kind of gross, but the taste is not bad and I've found that it gives me a boost in energy. Kyuubi said it's because a lot of the nutrients aren't cooked out, so it provides my body with what it needs to be fully functional. Well, I should be getting to sleep now. Entry 13. I can walk on water. I have finally been able to master the other chakra control exercise, which was water walking. Even though I achieved that and I'm a lot more used to my body, we still haven't come up with a taijutsu style for me. So far all we have been doing is practicing the academy one. This is getting really boring. The only thing that is stopping me from ripping my hair out is the constant clam that is pushed to me from the queen, and the fact that she can drain my emotions until they are merely an echo. I think that is why I'm now walking around with a blank expression. The queen doesn't allow me to feel much, especially negative emotions. Anyways, back to training. I have finally gotten the hang of enhancing my hearing. And it only took 6 days and my eardrum rupturing 4 times for me to do it. Kyubi was not pleased that he had to keep healing me. I would have taken longer if I had to heal myself. Oh, Kyubi took over my boy today. It was a completely freaky experience that I did not enjoy. He placed these intricate seals at the entrance to the cavern that the queen's cocoon is in, which was also the one that I found her egg, and several of the other inner caves, making sure to include one with a river and one with a hot spring. He also put some different seals on the actual walls of the caves, the ceilings and floors. He said that they were all used to make a really powerful demonic barrier. He said that the ones in the entrances was to make sure no one could enter unless I permits them, and the ones on the ceilings, floors and walls helped to strengthen whatever they were put on and make it nearly indestructible. He said that the barriers will hold against any ninja, though he said to be a little wary if that ninja has demonic chakra, without breaking. He also warded a tunnel that leads to above ground. These seals were a bit different than all of the others. Kyubi explained that only somebody from my clan would be able to see at that cave entrance or tunnel. He said it was an emergency escape route just in case. I actually feel relieved that this place is now safe and that I don't have to worry about someone coming to kill my daughter. Well, I have a long day again tomorrow, so I should get some sleep. Page break, again. The sloshing of liquid is what slowly lured the blonde from his slumber. Sleepy blue eyes looked around the cave he had been sleeping in to find it empty save for the queen's cocoon and the area where he slept. The sound repeated itself and drew Naruto's attention to the large pulsing black mass. It appears that your daughter is ready to come out now. It's the moment you have been waiting for all week. The fox said dully as the blonde became fully alert. Naruto was able to faintly hear the small ripping noises if he enhanced his hearing. He was fascinated with the struggle the queen was having from within. With a sound like wet cloth tearing, his daughter was expelled from her cocoon. She looks different, flowed through his mind as he took in the change form of the xenomorph. She towered over him at an height of 9 feet, her head fanning out to look even more like a crown than it did before. The tan that used to dominate her body was now swallowed almost completely by the black, and her arms were now longer. The most prominent difference, however, were the powerful legs she now sported. I hunger. A thought, an honest-to-God thought, in words floated from the abyss and into Naruto's mind, causing shock to spread through his system. Well, it looks like she grew more than just physically while she was in there. Kyubi said as the astonishment wore off. Yeah, no kidding, should I take her with me to hunt? Yeah, she is now capable of going with you. She needs to get the hang of hunting so that she may provide for her own food. I would suggest that you to head out at night, however, it is less likely you will get caught then. Kyubi stated as he shifted restlessly. When darkness swallows the light, I shall feast upon our prey. The queen asked as she pushed a mental image of her and her father surrounded by a massacre of butchered villagers. No, as much as I am starting to despise the villagers, we can't kill them. The blonde said, resisting the queen's will. Why not? They threaten you daily. She brought up memories of the villagers' hate-filled glares and mistreatment of him. Still, I refuse to murder them. I will not allow you to slaughter them either. If you attack, there is a possibility that you would be injured or killed. I will not take that risk. Besides, everyone is not like that. He replied sternly, sending her images of the Sandame, a dog and weasel masked Danbo, the old man and his daughter, and with only a moment of hesitation his new academy teacher. Entry 14. The queen came out today. I was relieved and surprised when I actually saw her. She changed so much, she can now talk, actually talk. Kyubi allowed me to take a break today while I explained in excruciating detail what we did for the week to my daughter. She paid rapt attention to every word that I said, absorbing it like a sponge. I have never had anyone to hang off of my words like she did. Anyways, me and Kyubi found out that we could check the queen's physical and mental health by sticking a tendril of chakra into the void. It was a really weird feeling. The furball said that her core was not fully developed yet, so he cannot gauge to what extent she will be able to use her chakra. I am excited to find out, now that I know she won't go rampaging through Konoha. I took the queen on her first hunt today and she was a natural. She was able to use all of my past experiences and her natural instincts as guidelines on what and what not to do. We're now on a schedule on who will hunt that day, so I'll have some extra time to train and stuff. Well, I should be going. I still have to write down all of the changes I noted in the queen. Entry 18. Today the queen walked on water. Her chakra control is coming along nicely. We're still wary of letting her do anything too strenuous because her core is still underdeveloped, but she is grasping these exercises really well. I think that she is learning the same way she learned how to hunt. This is awesome because that means that only one of us has to learn something for the whole clan to know it. If I even make a clan, I'm still hesitant about that, even though Kyuubi is really pushing for me to apply to start my own. Kyuubi reassured me that I have something to contribute to the village, 2 Kekkei Genkei, and that there was a 85% chance that any kids that I have will get one of my bloodline limits and a 10% chance that they will have both. He said that either way it goes I will be bringing a new line of defense that the village needs. However, I am still hesitant. I barely know how to provide for myself, nevertheless a whole clan, on top of that, who would be in it? I can't have a whole clan consisting of just me, the queen, and the hive that we will build together. No, I don't think I will be making a clan anytime soon, not until I need to make one anyways. We have finally found what to base my new taijutsu style on. It will be a mixture of a style that most kitsune use, the way the queen hunts, and the academy style that I have been practicing this whole time. Right now the fox is working out how to mesh those three things together, but I'm confident that it will be original and awesome. On another note, I pulled this huge prank today. It was hilarious. That man who runs the cloth shop ran me out the other day, so early this morning I placed superglue on his toilet set. Then using some ninja wire I rigged his bathroom so that it dropped honey and feathers on him while he was trying to get up. They had to pull his whole toilet out and march it down to the hospital, and on top of that they were attacked by bees because of the honey. It was so funny I almost burst a gut laughing so hard. Of course the Hokage wasn't really amused when they finally caught me. Oh, did I mention that the queen was eating less? I guess now that she isn't a baby she doesn't need to eat as often. How weird is that? Well, I should be going to sleep now. Things to do tomorrow. I swear I get busier every day. Entry 20. The queen's tail was ripped off this morning. It was a terrifying experience for everyone involved. Luckily it grew back by the end of the day. I was so worried. That was so scary. On another note, I can now proudly say that I no longer run into trees or randomly trip anymore. I am now used to my new body structure. Kyuubi said that he will teach me how to make my own weapons and clothes. He said that one of my greatest weapons is my acid blood. He wants me to be able to my blood to increase the potency of my weapons. He said that we can use the part that was torn off of the queen to make some. I'm kind of don't want to, that's disgusting. Kyuubi began teaching me some demonic seals today, just basic ones to help protect the rest of the cave systems. I can finally see myself getting stronger, closer to my dreams than ever before. I think Iruka-sensei is getting frustrated with me. I went back to making bad grades. It's not that I can't answer the questions correctly, and he knows that. It's just me and Kyuubi believe it would be safer for me if I appear stupid. The villagers had started to get more hostile towards me once I started getting good grades, and I just don't feel like dealing with all of that. We still do our little get-together, tutoring session every day, and there I can let my true intellect show, but in school I have to be dumb. Well, I'm rambling, so I guess I'll go to sleep now. Page break. Naruto stared perplexedly before him at the silky dark mass that took up half of the back wall. The black resin-like substance stretched away from the cocoon, engulfing the whole cave in its sticky web. I feel like we just woke up in a giant spider's nest. Kyuubi said as they looked around at their changed surroundings. Do you think that this is the final metamorphosis that she will be going through? Naruto asked his tenant. His daughter had only been out for a week before this happened. Yeah, and remember I said that she probably needed to gather the chakra from you and around her to finish building her own. She will more than likely be fully developed when she next comes out. Anyway, onto another topic. Are you planning on calling her the queen for the rest of her life? I think she needs an actual name and that you should have it picked out before she comes out. With one last look and a sigh, Naruto left the cave systems to take a quick jog through the forest before he hunted for his food. Shortly after eating, the blonde went through his routine stretches, preparing himself for his day of training. What are we going to be doing today, Kyuubi? Well, do you remember that I said you might have a dujutsu? I want to try and unlock it now. Naruto paused briefly. Wouldn't I have unlocked it by now? I've been channeling chakra to my eyes a lot lately. Not necessarily, maybe there is another factor into unlocking it. The fox trailed off thoughtfully. Anyways, we are going to work on different scenarios and amounts of chakra for now. Entry 21. Today we tried to release my dujutsu, with no luck whatsoever. But I'm not going to give up yet. It was only our first day of trying after all. I'm still in the lecture stage of learning the demonic seals. It's kind of hard because they are in a different language than the one I understand. A lot of the purposes for the seals don't translate well or at all either, so I'm doing a lot of guesswork here. Kyubi said that demonic seals are different in that they mostly use words and symbols of power. Those are basically the foundation of the demon world and everything in it. If that makes any sense. I have been working on my taijutsu now more than ever. I find it soothing to have a style, however new and imperfect as it is, to myself that only I know. I'm still pretty horrible at it, but like I said, it's new and I have to train my body to flow naturally with it. The queen is in a cocoon again. Hopefully this is her last time. We have plans to have at least 5 or 10 members added to our colony before we come out to the Hokage. Though even after that I don't wish to become a clan, not yet anyways. So much happened today and yet I have so little to say. I might as well go to sleep, I'm exhausted. Entry 26. Damn it, I still have no idea how to unlock these stupid eyes. I'm starting to think that I don't have a dojutsu after all. I mean, I studied the queen's anatomy, she doesn't have eyes. How the hell am I supposed to get their vision when they don't have fucking eyes? It's like telling someone who was born blind to describe color, it's completely impossible. This is extremely irritating. I would prefer to just forget about it and work on something else, but Kyubi is obsessed. On another note, I'm starting to get more comfortable with my taijutsu style. It's really nothing more than a whole lot of instinctual moves. No real patterns or anything, quite genius if you ask me. That way I'm unpredictable. Speaking of patterns, if I'm reading this correctly, the queen should be out in 2 days. I'm so happy that it almost makes me forget about my earlier frustrations, almost. I've been thinking about names for her and I've decided on Slick because of her skin. Kyubi hates it, but that's what I'm going to stick with. While I'm going to bed, cerulean eyes took in the 25 feet of majestic being that stood in front of him. The queen now had 2 pairs of functional arms that were wrapped snugly in her glossy black exoskeleton. She was deadly beauty with not a hint of tan on her dark body. Kotaigo. Naruto whispered, all previously decided names forgotten. It felt right falling from his lips. I now name you Kotaigo. Okay, she should be good to go. Her core is fully developed and stable and her physical health is perfect. Kyubi said as Naruto retracted the sliver of chakra he sent through the small archway that led into the void. So what should we do first? The blonde asked no one in particular as he wandered over to run a hand over the queen's head. I think she should train with you first. Based on your memories, she will be rendered immobile when she finally begins to lay eggs. Though with your daughter there's no telling if that will stay the same. There has been many differences that separates her from the norm of her species. The fox trailed off. I am completely confident in the fact that the seals will hold. However, being cautious has never hurt anyone. I would prefer it if we hold off on expanding the colony for now. Naruto nodded in understanding, looking to his daughter to see what she thought. I agree with the Ancient One. It is also imperative that I prepare the nest before I begin to lay my eggs. Additionally, we need to go over what we will use as host. It is clear to me that you do not want to use the fleshy host from the colony nearby. Kotaigo let out a hissing purr as she nuzzled her head into her father's hand. Let me know what you will need to prepare the nest. I'll try my best to help you with that. As for hosts, we're going to have to work something out with Hokage Gigi once we come out to him about all of this. Until then we should be able to use the surrounding wildlife, and I'll even host a couple if you would like. Naruto looked thoughtfully at his daughter. I wonder if you can use jutsu. I know you can use your chakra. You proved that fact by doing the chakra control exercises with me, but the only way to know is to have her try. Start her off on something simple like the Henge no Jutsu. Kyubi suggested. She should know the proper hand seals and about them in general because you guys have been sharing everything you know since the beginning. How will she do the correct hand seals, and shouldn't we do warm-ups first? The blonde asked doubtfully as he looked at his daughter's hands. They only had 4 digits, 3 fingers and 1 thumb. What the humans don't know is that it is possible to execute jutsu without the use of your hands. It's a rare ability and it takes a lot of concentration to execute, but it comes in real handy sometimes. Though the chakra drainage is probably what stops humans from being able to use that technique, you and your hive should be able to. You have a nearly unlimited chakra supply through me and the queen has it through you. As for warm-ups, I think it would be wise to first see if the completion of her core has disrupted her control. We will have her do both the tree walking exercise and the water walking one. Naruto nodded, his hand still stroking his daughter's head. That makes sense. She would have more chakra that she has to control than before she changed. An excited gleam appeared in his eyes. Doing handless jutsu is so awesome. That way no one will be able to tell what jutsu I use, which will make it harder to counteract. So how do I do it? Like I said, we are going to start out simple with Hange no Jutsu because you have that one mastered. Mentally executing a jutsu is one of the easier ways that demons can attack. All you have to do is visualize the correct hand sequence and pour chakra into that image. The mental hand seals will act in place of the physicals, and that is how the jutsu is executed, though you have to use more chakra. This way is sometimes better. The fox lectured, happy that both of his pupils were listening with rapt attention. I want you to try it first, Naruto, then after you attempt it a couple of times, Kotaigo can try. However, before you do any of that, go to the training room so that you can do your warm-ups and test the little queen. Nodding, the blonde led his daughter through one of the branching tunnels that made up the inner catacomb. The training room was a tall ceilinged cave that was eerily smooth with not a rock out of place. The smooth walls were good for the tree climbing exercise. On the far side of the room, in the middle of the wall towards the left corner, was a medium slit that spilled forth a rush of crystal clear water that fed into a narrow but deep river. Welcome, Kotaigo, to the training room. A fox-like smile was thrown towards the xenomorph as the young ninja in training sauntered over to the wall that was opposite to the stream. Come on, let's see if we have to start from square one with you. Well, it looks like she still has impeccable control, unlike some people I know. The fox said a couple hours later after putting Kotaigo through some laps of both up and down the walls and back and forth on the rivulet. My control is just fine. Moving to stand in the middle of the cave, Naruto drew up a picture of the correct hand seals. With a deep breath he wrapped the image with a thick tendril of chakra, and was only mildly surprised at the almost instant pull on his reserves. Nothing happened. The blonde pouted out as he felt his chakra disperse into thin air before he cut the jutsu. This one might be a little harder than the rest because you have to also image who or what you will turn into. You were concentrating solely on the hand seals. Try again. Naruto nodded in understanding, once again pulling the image of the hand seals into his head and splitting his concentration between that and who he wanted to become. This time the experience was different. As the tendril of chakra latched onto the two pictures, he felt a shifting in his body. Walking over towards the base of the waterfall, he peered into the mirror-like liquid that pooled there. He felt both disappointed and accomplished at the sight that greeted him. He was able to partially turn into his Chunin instructor Iruka. He got most of the face, though his eyes were still blue, the height and the skin color right. His hair was in the correct style, though it still had streaks of blonde in it. Better, one more try, then I want you to let Kotaigo try. The Kyuubi trailed off thoughtfully. Have you noticed anything different when you do it now than when you did it before? Yeah, when I do it now it feels more solid. Before it was like wearing a cold liquid-like cloak. Now it's like I'm actually changing into Iruka. Your Henge no Jutsu is acting more like a Kitsune transformation, more complex than just a simple shinobi illusion. I didn't think you would be able to accomplish something like this just yet, even though it's a very basic ability. So does that mean that I am learning my first demonic ability? Excitement coursed through the blonde, both his own and his daughter's. Yeah, if you practice enough I might be able to teach you to transform without the mental hand seals. That's great. When am I going to learn other illusions? That's one of the main abilities that all fox demons have, right? The whiskered boy made his way back to the middle of the cave and faced the queen. After you master, or at least get the hang of, transforming. Now release the jutsu and try again. Naruto did as he was told and once again concentrated on the image of his sensei and the head seals he would need to accomplish this technique. Then with a spur of inspiration the blonde imagined the Iruka doing the correct hand seals. Keeping that image firmly in place, Naruto cast a net of chakra around it. He felt the weird sensation of his bones shifting and muscles changing before finally after 5 minutes everything settled. I hope this worked. The blonde nearly tripped over his now longer legs at the voice that left his throat. Naruto peered into the clear liquid of the stream and nearly shouted in joy at the sight that greeted him. He looked like an exact replica of his teacher, the same tanned skin and scar that lied across his nose. The same brown eyes that could be stern but at the same time warm and caring. I did it, Kyuubi, Kotaigo. The boy disguised as a man said, pumping his fist in the air. Good, now I want you to explain to your daughter in detail what you did. Kyubi turned his attention to the queen. Kotaigo, I want you to imagine yourself as a human. You don't have to use the visage of somebody else. Very well, ancient one, I shall try. She listened adamantly as her father explained both verbally and mentally what he did and how he did it. Keeping the picture firmly in mind, the queen casted the net of chakra just as her dad told her to do, and felt that bout of strangeness as she shrunk and morphed into a shape that was completely new. How'd I look? She said in a liquid and slightly hypnotic voice. After thinking about it for a while, she decided that she rather liked her voice in this form. Naruto could only stare, all higher brain functions having left him at the moment. She was slightly shorter and younger looking than he was, with long silky glimmering black hair that cascaded past her shoulders. Her skin was an ebony brown that was completely flawless and soft looking. Her face had high cheekbones and a small delicate nose that rested above pouty plump lips. Her stance was regal and spoke of royalty. It gave her a powerful presence that could not be ignored. But her most striking feature was her wide almond-shaped eyes, which were an alarming pure white that contrasted beautifully with her dark skin. Very good for your first try, though I would suggest you get rid of the tail, claws and fangs. You'll look more human that way and won't have to hide as much when we are in the village. Kyubi's voice snapped him out of his daze and brought his attention to the imperfections of his daughter's transformations. We'll also have to buy you some clothes, you can't walk around the village naked. The blonde said thoughtfully as he pictured what might look good on his daughter. Well, release the jutsu like I taught you and you can try again. Let me know when you get hungry so that we can stop and go hunting. Entry 28. So much has happened since I last rode in here. I've been so busy trying to train my daughter and help her prepare the nest that I kept forgetting to write in this journal. It was finally after I missed a whole month of it that Kyubi put his foot, or paw down. So here I am having so much to say and not knowing where to begin. School sucks, it's just a waste of my time. Throughout this month I've only been there 5 times. I'll admit that half of the time that I was gone was so that I can teach Kotaigo the joys of pranking the villagers. She seemed to have just as much fun doing it as I did, and Kyubi rooted us on the whole way. When we weren't playing pranks, I was teaching my daughter how to defend herself in her new form with and without chakra. Even with our shared experiences, she still had a tough time of learning my taijutsu style. I guess it was too much to expect to have my whole clan learn stuff without trying too hard. I also taught her how to use chakra in her original form. We found that if she concentrates her chakra into her mouth, she can spit acid. It can also be used to make her tail and claws sharper, her skin harder and her acidic blood stronger. I don't know many jutsu yet, so I don't know if she can do any others besides the academy level ones. I also helped Kotaigo prepare the nest, and that was just plain weird for lack of a better word. She was spitting that resin-like stuff all over the cave. She decided to pick the one that her egg was found in to be the nesting room, until it looked like a huge spider's web even more than what it did before. She told me it was necessary because the eggs are fragile. They need to be in a certain environment to be able to survive for long periods of time. She said that her egg was lucky to have lasted for so long. I had to help clear away some of the stalagmite from the floor so that there would be more room. Kyubi also took over so that he could thread chakra into the resin web that the nest was made of. He said that it will hopefully cut down on the development time if the air was saturated with chakra. We also did an adjoining cave, one that didn't lead to anywhere else, which I now dubbed the nursery. So now those 2 caves are covered in that resin-like stuff and looks like a spider's nest, and they are both saturated in chakra for the speedy growth of any new members. I've been thinking, all of this talk about eggs and new members of our clan that's not really a clan made me think what would happen if I were to ever have kids. Would they burst out of their mother's stomach like what the xenobabies do? I mean, Kyubi said that some of that was in my DNA, so I wonder if my children will be born that way. Am I a potential danger to any girl that I decide to marry? Oh, and Kyubi threw me a curveball. He said that when I come of age that I will go into heat, and in that time if I have no matter what gender my partner is, it will always end with a pregnancy. That is so unbelievable. But fortunately I don't have to worry about that until a few years, but man is that going to suck. Anyway, on to less stressful topics. I was able to have a break from my dojutsu training. We have been too busy with testing the queen and training her to continue that part of my training. I was however able to successfully learn and place the minor demonic seals on the rest of the tunnels and caves. Our defense system works in layers. There is the outer layer that consists of the entrance caves and the surroundings around them. They each have a seal that will notify us when someone enters from there and if they have malicious intentions or not. Some Hive members will watch from the shadows if they do not wish to cause harm. Then depending on who they will be led into the outer cave system where a second throne room is. If they are not someone with clearance that far, they will be trapped in an illusion that will turn them back to the entrance. If they see past the illusion, the actual barrier will give them a mild shock that will knock them unconscious so that the Hive members can drag them back to the entrance caves. After the second barrier has been activated, in mild illusion, slightly stronger than the one that the barrier gives off, will hide the fact that the cave can go further. Then there is that last barrier that Kyuubi put up around the inner caves. Only my clan members can enter or exit there at will unless I permit it. Tomorrow we will be giving my little queen her final test, then me and Kyuubi will decide if she is ready to breed. After we bear a few members, I will start going to school regularly or semi-regularly. I don't want Hokage Gigi-sama to become worried or suspicious. Oh, did I mention that Kotaigo no longer has to eat? I guess as an adult eating is not mandatory to survive, it only serves to gives her extra energy. Wow, this is the longest entry yet. I think that's it for now. Naruto groaned as he was jostled out of his sleep by the blaring of his alarm clock. Stretching, he looked around his new room. It's a medium-sized cave that's near the egg room. After that was finished, the queen didn't want anyone sleeping in there, so Naruto moved out and claimed this cave as his own. It was littered with scrolls and notebooks that were filled with things that Naruto learned about himself and the xenomorphs. His bed was a large pile of furs, blankets and pillows that was tucked into a corner that had a perfect view of the doorway. Getting up, he walked to the large cave that the queen claimed for herself. Kotaigo, it's time to wake up. You had to do your warm-ups and practice while I go hunting for some food. After we eat, you are to begin with your test, the blonde said as he roused his daughter from her sleep. Very well, father, she said as she made her way to the training room. Remember to completely close down your mental link while she is taking her test. We don't want her to cheat in any way. Nodding his head, Naruto closed the door to that archway that symbolizes his connection to his daughter. Making his way out of the catacombs, the blonde quickly went into hunter mode. His sense of smell, which was now always sensitive, was able to zero in on the scent of wild boar nearby. Getting to the place that the vicious animals were resting took no time at all. Cerulean eyes scanned the group for the biggest one from where their owner sat perched in a tree. You have become really good at tracking things. Your body is now used to adding that correct amount of chakra, and now almost without thought you can turn off and on the first stage of your demonic senses. Kyuubi said, satisfied. Wait, there are more stages. This isn't my full extent? The blonde thought towards the fox. Yes, you remember when you first woke up or when you added too much chakra? That is the full extent of your demonic senses, but we have to slowly condition your body to be able to handle that extreme change. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he spotted his prey. A large sow that looked to be on her last legs of pregnancy. With a deep calming breath, he darted from his perch to swipe at the female hog. That was an idiotic move. Let's attack the one in the middle of an aggressive group of animals. Kyuubi snarled out sarcastically as the animals around them started to thrash dangerously in a panic, most stampeding away while others charged at his young host. It's fine, I can handle this, Naruto said as he leapt over the charging hog and slashed at his original prey. Don't get why, you little brat. The fox growled out as the blonde narrowly missed a tusk that was aimed for his stomach. Just kill the sow and leave. We need you in one piece so that we can test your daughter. Huffing in irritation, the blonde was able to successfully slice the pig's throat. Swooping down, he hauled the heavy carcass into his arms and took off into the trees and made his way back to the caves. That is something that we have to fix. You can't be going into a battle because there is always someone bigger and stronger than you. So what that applies to you too, Mr. I am the strongest of the Biju. Yeah, the Biju, not demons. I thought you were the king of demons. Naruto exclaimed as he nearly dropped his prize when he stumbled. I forgot that you puny humans think that. No, I am not the demon king, he is way stronger than me, and he is not even the strongest demon. The kitsune snorted at his container's dumbfounded expression. That, however, is not something you need to concern yourself with because I don't plan on ever taking you to the demon world. Not yet anyways, you'll get eaten alive for having human blood flowing through your veins. I didn't realize how far away I had actually gone. Naruto finally made it back to the caves, and deposited the food in front of his daughter. "Here, you need to get your strengths up," he said as he sat down and neatly cut a leg off for himself. He was too hungry to actually wait for the food to cook, so he just bit into it raw, moaning as the cooling blood poured down his throat. The red substance tasted sweet and tangy with just a slight trace of that coopery taste that all blood has. He felt a slight twinge of remorse as he watched his daughter tear into the stomach that was full of unborn baby boars before it passed. This was just the circle of life, something weak getting eaten by something stronger. Now that you both have regained your strength, I think it's time to start the test. The objective is easy: defend yourself while me and your father attack you. If you can hold us off for 20 minutes straight, we will allow you to begin breeding; if not, then you will have to be trained some more. Do you understand? They had walked into the middle of the training room and Kotaigo stood across from them in her fighting stance with her long whip-like tail waving dangerously behind her. "Very well. Begin." With that, Naruto whipped out his dagger that he made from the queen's tail. It was as long as his forearm and extremely sharp. The blonde dashed towards his daughter, dodging out of the way quickly as the queen's tail made a long groove in the spot that he was just in. Entry 29. Kotaigo passed. Even with me and Kyuubi fighting her, she was able to hold for the full 20 minutes. I am so proud of her. To show this, I am allowing the first addition to our colony to be born of my body. That actually has me a bit worried because last time it was painful. Anyway, I need to get some sleep. I'm exhausted. Kyuubi had me practicing my dujutsu again. Man, that's so annoying. Entry 30. Kotaigo has sported some large fleshy thing that allows her to lay eggs. It even comes with its own throne-like chair thing. It's so big that she can't move while attacked it. Kyuubi and I were right to have trained her beforehand. I can't wait until she actually lays an egg. It'll be the first big step to growing our colony. Naruto sighed as he once again sent a net of chakra towards his eyes. He no longer felt the crushing blow of disappointment as he failed once again to activate his dujutsu. Kyuubi, we should just give up. We've tried so many different things and still not even a hint to the fact that I even have an eye technique. The blonde groaned out in frustration. With an attitude like that, you will never be able to master any of your abilities. You'll stay a wimpy one-tail for the rest of your life. On top of that, you'll never become Hokage. The fox sneered, but Naruto was interrupted by Kyuubi's abrupt reply. I will teach you another exercise to fine-tune your control, and then we will try again. The kitsune said briskly. The blonde academy student nodded, knowing that his tenant was unhappy with him and not wanting to aggravate him even more. Good, now I want you to go gather a pile of leaves. The exercise today is to stick a leaf to your forehead and hold it there for as long as you can. Sighing, the whiskered boy did what he was told and gathered the leaves. Finding a comfortable spot under a large tree, the Jinchuriki placed one of the larger leaves on his forehead. Closing his eyes, he directed a thin tendril of chakra to it. A gasp left his lips at the picture that was slowly unveiling before him as he fed more and more chakra into his temple. The trees and grass were all a shimmering green light that flickered and danced in a shape that vaguely resembles its correct form. The rocks were gray outlines that faded into a void of blackness that screamed emptiness. The animals that lived in the part of the forest that he was practicing in were in color ranges from bright yellow to a deep red and everything in between. It appears that you have heat-seeking vision, Kyuubi said smugly, though the colors are a bit weird. In his excitement, Naruto made the mistake of opening his eyes. The dual vision assaulted his brain like a rabid army. The last thing he was aware of was the string of curses that flew out of the Kyuubi's mouth, before blackness took hold of him. Entry 30 continues. I did it. I unlocked my dujutsu. It seems that this whole time I was sending the chakra to the wrong place. Anyways, I have a wicked heat-seeking ability, though I can't use it while my eyes are open. Man, I still have a killer migraine from when I woke up after fainting. I wonder if it will be painful every time I use that ability or if it was only due to me opening my eyes? I mean, now that I think of it, even before I opened my eyes there was a slight throbbing. I could ignore it, but still. Kyuubi say that it will only be painful until my body gets used to it, but I don't know. On another note, I can't wait until my little queen finally lays an egg. I'm so excited. Well, I'm going to try and sleep this headache off. Ow, it's so painful. Entry 32. Today is the day. My little queen has laid 10 eggs so far. I have finally decided to hatch one. I wonder if I will black out for as long as I did last time, or if I will come close to death again. Naruto stood in front of a row of giant mossy green eggs. They didn't look any different than Kotaigu's, still the same disgusting color and slimy feel. Naruto allowed his eyes to fall close and the darkness to be replaced with the heat-seeking abilities of his dujutsu, and watched as the violet light, which was so similar to his little queen's, in the shape of a spider-like creature, twitched around in its enclosed space. So what one should I choose? Naruto asked on one in particular. The one all the way at the end. It has a different shade of purple than the others, darker. Also, like the queen, it has golden flecks in its purple. Do you think it's another queen? Naruto asked as he made his way over to the egg that the fox mentioned. No, but it will definitely be something special. What do you think about this, Kotaigo? The blonde asked, turning to his daughter. I agree with the ancient one, she said as she peered curiously over to where her father was standing. Okay then, this one shall be the first addition to the hive. The whiskered boy announced as he gently tapped the egg, releasing a small wave of chakra into it. Almost immediately the egg began to wiggle and convulse as the facehugger pushed its way through the flap-like top. The giant spider-like creature scurried up the arm that Naruto held out to it and rested comfortably in his hands. Well, for the second time I shall birth an xenomorph, the blonde announced as he brought the creature to his face and instructed it to clamp on. The experience felt completely strange to the young academy student, the tail wrapped lightly around his throat to stay balanced. It was nothing like the choking, almost crushing grip of the first time. Again he felt as a long tube was forced down his throat to help him breathe, and the slimy feel of the egg sliding down. It was a little while later that the lax grip fell away completely and the facehugger fell from his head. Well, that was weird, the blonde said as he bent to pick up the dead facehugger. I wonder why this time I stayed awake? It probably has something to do with how much you have been changed since that first time. Well, that and the fact that you were cooperating and you are the queen's father. Yeah, maybe, he said as he walked over to the queen. Well, this is the first step to our new family. Azure eyes glimmering happily at the hissing purr that left Kotaigo. Entry 32 continued. The egg that I choose struck me as being weird. When I looked at him with my dujutsu, it was different than the others. I wonder how it will be when it is born. Will it be like my little queen or something completely different? I'm so anxious, and kind of freaking out. I mean, I'm about to birth my own grandchild. That's weird and wrong on so many levels. Another thing that was me worried is how painful will it be this time. I mean, last time I almost died, but this time I'm not completely human and I am tougher than normal humans. Also, will my new bone structure be harder to break out of? Does that mean it will be even more painful than last time? Man, thinking like that any longer will give me nightmares. So let's look on the bright side of all of this. Kyuubi said that I can take a break from training while I am carrying this baby. That even looks wrong on paper. But, right, no panicking. I think it will be better to go to bed now. Staying awake any longer will definitely make me worry too much. Yawning, Naruto made his way into the egg room to check on his little queen. Hey Kotaigo-chan. How are you holding up? He asked as he took in the new row of eggs that were lined up neatly behind the first. Laying eggs is hard work, and I am unaccustomed to staying still while awake, she said as she shifted restlessly. I completely know what you're saying, doing nothing for too long makes me antsy. I'll try to bring you something to do so that you aren't so bored, the blonde said. Moving forwards, he lightly caressed his daughter's head. I'll be back after I go to the academy, he murmured reassuringly. Don't forget to eat something. I have a feeling this child will take longer to be born than the queen. You will definitely be feeling drained because of it. I can already feel it feeding on your chakra and nutrients, Kyuubi warned as the blonde left the cave systems. It might also be better for both of you if you eat as much raw meat as you can. Only eat cooked food when your human instructor or the Hokage take you to that ramen stand that you like so much. Okay, Naruto sighed as he quickly caught himself something light to eat. Hurrying to finish his meal, he rushed off, not really wanting to be late for the academy. Careful, Naruto, don't overexert yourself. You are in a delicate condition and stress is not good for the baby. The fox barked out. Are you going to be nagging me all day? The blonde asked as he made his way to his seat. Alright, quiet down, the lesson is about to begin, Iruka said as he walked into the room a few minutes later. Naruto, I would like to see you after class, please, he said sternly as his chocolate brown eyes met with cerulean. Yes, sensei, He groaned out, ignoring the snickering that came from the class. Stupid little childish bastards, he thought grumpily as he rested his head on the table. I mean, what have I ever done to them? He thought, feeling rage bubble just underneath his skin. And so it begins, the kitsune said with an evil chuckle that easily snapped the whiskered boy out of his murderous thoughts. What are you talking about? Naruto wondered, completely forgetting about his anger. Oh, you know, mood swings, weird cravings, morning sickness. The usual pregnant person behavior. This shall be amusing to me. Also, after you start showing you can't leave the cave system, so I would suggest storing some food down there. The thought of those symptoms plaguing him horrified him. He felt his stomach roll as nausea hit him hard. Iruka-sensei, may I go to the bathroom please? He asked, raising his hand at the same time. He must have looked as sick as he felt, because the refusal that he knew was at the tip of the Chunin's tongue died away and the tanned man nodded his consent. The blonde couldn't have been out of his seat faster, even if it were on fire. It took even his own brain a while to comprehend what happened. One minute he was still in the classroom looking into the worried eyes of his teacher, then the next he was bent over the toilet spewing his guts out. Or at least that is what it looked like, with all the blood and pieces of flesh that was rushing out of his mouth. I welcome you, Kit, to hell. Entry 33. I absolutely hate this. I have been pregnant for only one full day and already I can't stand it. I have had morning sickness, which by the way doesn't only happen in the morning like the name would lead you to believe, 4 times already. And please don't get me started on my eating. This is like the 5th chocolate-covered raw deer that I have eaten in the past 3 hours. To top that all off, I nearly burst out into tears when Iruka scolded me after the academy let out. All he really said was, I am disappointed in you for missing so many classes. And I nearly started blubbering like a baby. I'm exhausted, like I have been doing intense training for a full week straight without food or rest. To make matters worse, around lunchtime this dull aching started up. Kyuubi said that on top of the thing leaching nutrients and chakra from me, he is eating me from the inside out. Isn't that just fun? Hopefully I will only have to endure this for 4 days like I did with Kotaigo, or better yet make that 2 I was at least unconscious for the duration of my little queen's term. Not doing any training for the whole day was really weird, though on the other hand I felt so tired after a while that I couldn't really bother to complain too much. On the flip side, with less training to do, I guess I can spend more time studying my little queen and documenting the changes I discover. I'm starting to become quite the little scientist, aren't I? I honestly can't tell if that's a good thing or not. Entry 34. Chocolate sauce, whipped cream, giant leech and bacon is actually not as disgusting as it sounds. Kyuubi is having a field day. He keeps making fun of me. My eating habits are not weird, and I am not acting like some lunatic hormonal female out for blood and cute puppies, thank you very much. I haven't puked once today, it's a miracle. Today in school we had a test that I know I completely bombed. I mean, I answered one of the questions waffles. In acting stupid, can one really become stupid? Because at the time the answer made perfect sense to me. Anyway, I have found that doing nothing is more exhausting than training is. And I am so bored, what else can I do besides eat, sleep and read? At least my little queen has laying eggs to keep her busy, what can I do? Other than watch? I tried that for about 2 minutes before I got crept out. She has been a very busy girl. Already there are about 5 dozen eggs laying about around her. I wish that my chakra control wasn't so weird right now, cause I would like to observe them with my newly discovered dujutsu. Well, I think I will go to sleep now, I'm tired again. Entry 35. Today's specialty consists of pizza topped with miso ramen, fish guts, catnip and strawberry sauce. It was so delicious that I ate like 6 of them within the past hour. Oh, remember how yesterday I didn't have morning sickness? Well, it came back with a vengeance, and most of my day was spent spewing this black acid stuff that was slowly burning its way through the stone floors of one of the caves with each time I was sick. Oh, we found out something about the queen today. That egg sac thing is retractable, or something like that. It turned into chakra particles and kind of absorbed back into her body, or something like that. I actually don't know how it happened. I was too busy freaking out about getting eaten by a giant snake. Anyway, Kotaigo felt my panic and came to my rescue. I have such an amazing daughter. She really makes her papa proud. Though I had to listen to a really long rant from Kyuubi about how absolutely pathetic I acted back there and how I was a complete disgrace. That kind of hurt a bit, but what can I say? I panicked, my chakra control has gone to shit, Seriously, even my senses have reverted back to humanly dull, and for some reason I completely forgot about my acidic blood. Don't ask me how I managed to do that. I still blame the panic and my hormones, which are all wacky from the pregnancy. Page break. Naruto's eyes fluttered open, taking in the absolute stillness of his cave. Sitting up in confusion, the blonde grumbled to himself as he wondered what woke him up. Kid, get back to sleep, you need all of the energy that you can get. Kyuubi mumbled tiredly from the back of his mind. I don't know what woke me. The blonde trailed off when he felt a brief fluttering in his chest. Relax, it's just the baby, it's probably feeling really cramped in your chest by now. Yeah, Naruto paused as the fluttering began again, not knowing how he should react to the strange feeling. You should get back to bed, father. Kotaigo put in from her cave. Just as the pregnant boy was about to comply, a searing pain erupted from his chest and the fluttering evolved into full-out wiggles. What's happening? Is it time for the birth? Naruto gasped out through the pain. No, the baby is too underdeveloped to be born yet. The fox's voice was filled with panic. Then what is happening? The queen asked at the same time as her father groaned out. What do you mean? Well, this past week the baby's body has barely developed to the correct stage for it to come out. Instead, its chakra core and coils have been developing. If it is born now, it will die. Kyuubi said, fear in his voice. Naruto tried to slow his breathing as his mind scrambled to think of a solution to their current problem. Okay, well, you have to stay calm because stressing will more than likely worsen the situation. You're the one who's doing all of the panicking. The blonde snapped back. What do we do to keep it from birthing itself? Kotaigo asked, making her way to her father's side. Before anyone could answer, the baby dropped down to Naruto's lower abdomen and all of the squirming stopped abruptly. Looking down, blue eyes took in the extended, pregnant-looking tan torso. What just happened? The blonde asked numbly as the pain slowly dissipated. I think the baby xenomorph needed more space, and bursting through your belly will be easier than your reinforced bones. Kyuubi said as he worked on healing the empty cavern that is his kid's chest. Perhaps it was merely moving into a different stage of its growth. The queen said as she gently nuzzled her father. Yeah, maybe. The blonde slurred as he fell asleep. Entry 40. I had the worst night last night. The baby decided that it was too scrunched up in my chest, so it ate its way to my stomach area. Isn't that just fun? To top it all off, I'm fat now. I can barely leave my cave now, which means no school for me. I'm not sure how I feel about that. On another note, my little queen has been really wonderful and understanding. She didn't complain, not that she usually does, at all today when I kept snapping at her. We all decided that today was the day to hatch another egg or two. My little queen brought back a couple of living wolves and we watched in awe as the facehuggers forced the small little xenomorph embryo down the canine's throat. I wonder if that was how it looked for me. I'm going to watch their progress closely because of the difference in species. That might have an effect on how fast or slow they grow. I wonder if they will have strong, stable chakra cores? Well, this is the end of another exhausting, pain-filled day. Man, why did I decide to birth the first new member? Entry 43. Okay, so when I said that the wolves were developing faster, I mean way faster, as in they already birthed their xenomorphs. I'm all excited and jealous all at the same time. I mean, I was supposed to be birthing the first new edition, not the third. Also, they look different than Kotaigo did at this age. Their heads are completely rounded. My mindscape has changed slightly with their arrival too. Before, where there was a slight window into the void that is the queen's mind, there is now a grand archway. I can't really stem the flow of thoughts between us, not that I really want to, though thankfully I can still resist Kotaigo when she tries to compel me to do something I don't really want to. Speaking of my daughter, I feel kind of bad that she has to hunt for all of us. She is working so hard to keep us fed inconspicuously, which is a relief. The last thing we need right now is for the shinobi of the village to notice and coming snooping where they're not wanted. I still eat and sleep way too much for my likings, and I can only do so much reading before I get bored. I wish I had access to the village libraries, but I always get chased away from there. Anyways, I should probably get to bed. Even that will be a challenge with the baby squirming like it is. I usually get yelled at by my little queen and the Kyuubi. Naruto stared blankly at the two beings in front of him, his brain trying to process the information that his eyes sent it. The two wolf-born, which he identified as being runners, stood before him and his daughter completely matured. He guessed that it's not that amazing, because according to the original records the xenomorphs matured within a couple of hours to a day. But with the changes that Kotaigo had shown, he assumed that all of the xenomorphs would be monumentally different as well. They were remarkably shorter than the queen, though still managing to tower over Naruto, standing at about 7 feet. Their glossy black skin was tinged slightly red, and the blonde noticed that although they could walk up straight, they preferred to be on all fours. Their long tails were different also, merely being barbed at the end instead of having a wicked blade. Maybe the xenomorphs that are born directly from you have such a drastic difference in what is normal for their species, because from what our little queen knows you should have had that baby by now. Yeah, maybe you're right. Besides, their chakra cores aren't as developed as the queen's and the little ones inside of you are. That might be a reason why. Grumbling to himself, Naruto took a large bite out of his giant snake smeared with peanut butter and maple syrup. Entry 46. That's it. I am absolutely finished with being pregnant. I have a new respect for females. I mean, how do they do this and stay sane? I mean, I'm constantly eating and sleeping. I have morning sickness and mood swings and cravings. I am plagued by constant pain because the stupid little bugger is eating me from the inside out. And to top it all off, I'm fat. I look like I swallowed a giant beach ball or something, and my feet are swollen and I can barely walk because I'm so big I have to waddle. And I'm bored. I can't train and can barely concentrate to listen to Kyuubi's lectures, not to mention trying to read something. My little queen is always busy, either tending to her eggs or monitoring the two runners as they hunt and do other stuff, so she can barely spare time for me. Oh, did I mention the pain that I was in? The little monster is slowly eating its way through my chakra, nutrients and internal organs. And my feet are swollen, which makes it painful to waddle. Yes, waddle, because I can't walk normally. And I can't get comfortable whenever I want to sleep, and yet I'm always tired. And I'm fat. I mean, I'm not a very vain person, but I like the abs that were starting to develop under Kyuubi's tough tutelage. And Kyuubi told me that I'll have to start all over, though not as bad as if I were really giving birth. There will be no extra flab, I just won't have the muscles I started with, which is a real pain in the ass. And what about everyone back at the village? Someone's bound to notice my long absence from Konoha. I'm going to have to pull the largest prank ever to justify my non-attendances. I mean, why else would I be this quiet other than if I was planning something big and or long-lasting? That gets me thinking. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. We have more people to help with planning and setting up the prank. I mean, the runners are brilliant in their own rights, not as intelligent as my Kotaigo-chan, but smart all the same. Konoha better be ready, because as soon as I'm able to move freely and use my chakra again, I swear to have a whole week dedicated to making mischief. Well, I'm off to try to sleep, or maybe I should plan my big prank, that will be followed by a bunch of smaller pranks. This will be great. Naruto gritted his teeth in pain as another shockwave racked through his body. Today was the day. He could feel it in the intense burning sensation that originated from his bulging belly. Okay kid, you're doing great. Now just stay calm and try to relax. Tensing up will only cause it to hurt more. Kyuubi murmured comfortingly. The blonde sat in the middle of his cave, leaning back tiredly on his daughter as the two runners flanked him on either sides. A blanket of comfort came from the three xenomorphs and wrapped around the blonde just as the pain was beginning to be too much. Glazed cerulean eyes watched with a sort of drugged detachment as his large stomach convulsed once before there was a loud wet-sounding rip, and the baby xenomorph was free. The runner to his left quickly took the baby chestbuster to one of the caves that they had stocked with foods. Naruto watched in numbed fascination as his body began to slowly repair itself. Kid, the fox's voice final broke through the fog that surrounded the blonde's mind. Are you going to name it? Probably, though it won't be until after it has matured. He trailed off drowsily. Hey, I need you to stay awake until you get done healing. I'm not sure you will wake up if you sleep now. This is one large step to the growth and success of our hive. Kotaigo said as she nuzzled her father, trying to keep him awake until the Ancient One was done with the healing. Yeah, it is, isn't it? The blonde answered back, eyes growing heavier by the second. Almost done, kid, then you can sleep all you want to. When will we make our presence known to the fleshy prey that live beyond that wall? Soon, but not yet. We need some warriors before we do that. How are you going to do that? Warriors come from humans, unless you are willing to sacrifice one or two of the lowly furless apes. Naruto could clearly picture the wide malicious smirk that crossed the great kitsune's face. Maybe we'll get lucky and an enemy ninja could wander into our grasp. I doubt it, Kyuubi said with a snort, but I guess you can always hope. Anyway, you're all healed up, so get some rest. Kotaigo and the runners will keep watch of the baby while you sleep. Good night, father. Good night, little queen. The blonde murmured as sleep finally won out.